Hey guys, it's Lucas with Peacemaker Cabinets and Woodworks. In this video, we're going to see how these beautiful tables were made. So just stay tuned, and if you like the video, go ahead, hit that like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out, helps me out, and share it with a friend. Also, you can find me on YouTube, and I'm also on Facebook. If you want to look me up on Facebook, it's Peacemaker Woodworks. So, hope you enjoy the video.
Welcome to my shop, where nothing goes according to plan, but it usually works out in the end. To start with, we're getting our maple lumber cut down. We're just rough cutting it, so we're cutting it a little long so that we can do a finish cut at the end. I get all my lumber S3S, which means surfaced on 3 sides, so that way when I get to the shop and I'm milling it, I don't have to spend an extra few hours milling my lumber myself. So right now we're just knocking off that rough edge left from the lumber yard. I'm getting my edges marked from where I cut them in the side from the edge that was cut at the lumber yard. And with how big this table was, this coffee table, I figured I would have to do the tabletop in 2 separate glue ups. So now I'm just going and putting the glue on the edge. And the cool thing about this wood glue and most wood glues is the bond that it forms between the wood after it dries. That glue joint is actually stronger than the wood itself. So the wood will break before the glue joint will break. And when you're getting it tightened down, you don't want to tighten it so tight that you're putting a bow in the wood. All you need to do is just put a little bit of pressure on it, and if the wood is milled correctly, those seams should match up nicely. And I'm just putting a couple bar clamps on top to kind of give even clamping pressure. And after I got both tops and sides glued up, I realized that gluing it up on my work table wasn't going to work, so I had to call an audible and glue it up on the floor. You can see the nice hard edges where I swept that area to make it nice and clean. But this tabletop probably weighed every bit of 100 pounds, so it was not easy to move around. So now we're getting the clamps put on. I think I let this thing dry for a total of, I'd say probably a whole week before I took it out of clamps. Now one thing I learned is you want to wipe away that excess glue after you do a glue up. The first project I did was a table in my wood shop, and I didn't wipe away the excess glue, and it was hours and hours and hours of sanding. So after it's dry, we're going to go ahead and put it up on the work table. And this is a router circle jig that I got from Woodcraft in Chattanooga. I'd never used one before, but I've seen other people use them, and they looked relatively easy. So we're just going to scrape away the excess glue. And I know each side is each half of the table is equal to the other half. Both sides I was able to cut each plank in half and put one half of the plank on the left side of the table and one half of the plank on the right side of the table. And the cool thing about this circle jig is it's got the holes drilled out for so many different kinds of routers. And I've got a pretty popular one. I don't remember the name or model number. I mean, it's a skill, obviously, but I don't remember the model number. But I know it's a popular one, and I figured that this would fit it before I even tested it, and it did. And as you can see, you find the corresponding hole to put the peg through, and it just makes a perfect circle. Now that I've started routing out that circle in the table, I made about 3 passes, and each time I was taking a 1/4 inch off, and right here I realized that I forgot to lock my router in place inside the stand. Had I been doing a plunge cut that needed to be a certain depth, that really would have screwed it up, but I was making 3 passes, so I didn't really care if, while making the passes, if it was a little higher or lower in one spot, because I was going to cut it anyways. And after I made my 3 passes, I took the jigsaw out and cut the excess off. And I didn't cut it right on the line, because I was going to come back with the router and flush trim it to the initial cuts that I made while I was making the circle. And I was very happy with how well this worked. This was the first time I had actually done something like that with my router. I'd seen a bunch of people do it in videos, but it worked out well. Now that the table was a circle, it was time to start on the base. So here, I'm getting my lumber cut down. And I found this cool design on Pinterest to show the client, and it was kind of like a double X with legs, or with double X. But it turned out really nice. And here I'm routing out a spot for the half flap joint. And this is where I thought, you know, I'm going to be a real woodworker. I'm going to use my chisel, and I'm going to chisel these sides down, and it's going to look really nice. But I quickly learned I'm not that good with chisels yet. So I got out the crosscut sled, put the dado stack on, and made those half lap joints look pretty. And then it was time for some sanding. And more sanding. I like to put those blankets down when I'm sanding just to reduce the vibration and any kind of damage that may get caused to the wood as I'm sanding it. And what I realized is I cut my half-lap joints a little too deep, so the wood wasn't matching up perfectly when I laid it on top of each other. So I found a scrap piece of wood from where I was milling the maple to begin with, and it was just the right thickness to where when I put these two together, the joints matched up really nice. I was checking for 90, and then I just used my brad nailer to secure that in place. And here I'm pre-drilling my holes for the feet for this table base. There's a lot of discussion and I guess you could say varying opinions on the use of wood screws and custom furniture, but the person that this is going to, they've got 3 young boys, and 2 of them I know are they're a little wild. So I wanted to make this table as strong as possible in case they decided that it was a good idea to climb on top of this table. And where the screws are going, they're never going to be seen. So I figured the use of wood screws is more than okay for this. Now I'm going and putting a 1/4 inch round over on most of the edges for the base, give it a nice rounded look. The client wanted most of the edges to be rounded over just because they've got young kids and some family members have some young kids, so they didn't want any of the little ones bumping their head and getting injured. And this Bosch sander that I just recently got, I upgraded from that little DeWalt handheld orbital sander, and it makes a world of difference. Now I'm putting that 1/4 inch round over profile on the edge of the table. Nice up close shot of it. And here I'm using this almost walnut colored wood filler. There was still a few gaps in that main glue up that I did, but with the color that this table is going to be finished in, I figured it would blend right in. So while it's a hard line that you can see right now, when the finish is on, you won't even be able to see it. So now I'm water popping the table. What this does is this is going to make the wood fibers stand up on end. And I'm putting the 220 grit sandpaper on. This is the final sanding it'll get before finish is applied. Now it's time to fit the base. So I wanted to orient it in a way that the cross beams that marry up to the tabletop, one of them was going to run down that main glue joint that connected the 2 tabletops into one, And then that other cross joint, I wanted it to run perpendicular to all the to the glue joints to give it that extra strength. And so now that I like where the table base is, I'm just marking out exactly where that table base is going to fall. So I'm just tracing some lines with a pencil. And now I'm getting my spots marked out for the metal brackets that are going to attach the table base to the tabletop. And I actually found these on Etsy. I didn't know, I couldn't really find a good table bracket that I liked, but there was an Etsy seller that custom makes these table brackets, and I tried them out, and they worked really well. If you're attaching something with threaded inserts, which is what this table is gonna be, you know, joined together with, makes it, these brackets made it really easy. And that blue tape on my drill bit is for depth. I marked it to where exactly how far I needed to drill down and put that piece of tape on the drill bit so I wouldn't go down any farther. And there I am throwing Allen wrenches. And the actual threaded inserts and bolts for the machine screws, I actually got those on Amazon. I think it was like $10 for a 30 pack, so it wasn't bad, and they worked really well. And now with the brackets attached, I'm just going ahead and marking where the brackets are going to fall. So I've got it traced out with the pencil. I'm going and making, just finishing those outlines of the table brackets, and I'm gonna route them out because they're made out of 1/8 inch steel. So I had to route out an 1/8 inch deep kind of little square just so that they would sit down into the table nice and flush. Now to test fit, looked good. Now I'm just getting my holes pre-drilled for the threaded inserts. Gonna do test fit again, see how the threaded inserts line up. Now we're finishing this table base in black. This is a Minwax oil-based stain. It went on really well and it looked really nice after just one coat. The only issue with maple is it doesn't absorb stains and finishes like oak would. So when you go to wipe away the excess, it gives it kind of a distressed look, which was perfect for this project because this was that's kind of the look that I was going for, was a distressed look. got my Santa Claus sweatshirt on. Christmas was just about a week away when I was recording all this. And the tabletop is being finished in Rubio Monocoat. This is by far one of my favorite finishes. So part A is the actual finish, and part B that I'm putting in now, this is the accelerator. So this is what speeds up the cure time for the finish. And it's oil-based hard wax. What I like to do is I like to use a little squeegee to just kind of spread it out to begin with. Pour a little on the table, spread it out, push it around. You don't really need to use a whole lot of this stuff. A little bit goes a long way. Now I'm wiping off that excess, and as you can see, it kind of gives it a distressed look. So now I'm starting on. I like to do the bottom sides of tabletops before I finish the top side. So now I'm finishing the top side. Using that squeegee to get it pushed around, and then Rubio has these applicator pads that I figured I would try out, so I'm really massaging that finish into the wood. And after I let it dry for a couple days, I came back with a maroon pad and just kind of sanded away a little bit of that initial coat that I put on. Rubio's thing is, you know, they say that you only need to apply one coat, which in a lot of cases is true. There's been a lot of things that I've only applied one coat of Rubio with and they looked great. But this, I was like, you know, let's just do two, give it a more rich color. And the color of this Rubio, in case you're wondering, is chocolate. Like we did before, we're wiping away the excess. And then with this table, I purchased a product called N3 Nano. It's made by Blacktail Studios. If you guys haven't heard of him, I'd recommend checking out his YouTube channel. Makes a lot of cool walnut tables. But this is like a ceramic hard coat finish that you apply to a tabletop or piece of furniture, and it creates a nice protective barrier. And here we are, tables are delivered at the client's house, all finished up. I think they turned out great. I ended up adding some furniture feet on the bottom, just in case the floor wasn't perfectly level. But yeah, both of these tables turned out great. The client was super happy, and here's some nice photos of them.